Okay, so as you can see, it's the next day. We are on the 26th of September. It's Thursday today. And last night we did the RIP tour. So it was absolutely knackering, and by the time we got back, it was basically just straight to bed. I think it was about, I don't know, 2? Was it? But it didn't finish, it only finished at 1. Oh, okay. So we're back around half 1, 2-ish. And as you can imagine, we were just knackered. I think going on at 6 was maybe a little bit ambitious. So anyway, right, so the first thing that we did was we actually went to the new Today Cafe, and that was our stay and scream. It's just a little one. I think there's another one over by Minions, but we went to the Today Cafe and we had something to eat. And we sat and waited to watch the scare actors come out and open the gates. So we weren't like immediately running to, I think it was Killer Clowns is the house that's there. And I think everybody thought we were mad because we'd sat and stayed and scream and we hadn't gone running to the house. But we wanted to do everything as part of the RIP tour. We were getting front of the line access anyway, so there, that's what we decided to do. We obviously got some footage of that, you've probably seen it. Then we went and got a little bit of footage sort of in the daytime of the scare zones and stuff like that for my TikTok, and had a little bit of a walk around, which I think was a bit of a mistake, to be honest, because my feet are so sore today. We went to we went to guest services to check in for our tour, which was at 8 o'clock, so we went around about 7:30, I think it was, and they gave us our lanyards. Where the heck is it? So that there is the lanyard, so you've got RIP tour, Halloween Horror Nights, and it's just got sort of like the pixels because everything's sort of retro gaming themed, and you get that for free. I would hope so for the amount of money that it costs. So we got that, and it had like our credentials in it. And then we got told that at 8 o'clock we needed to meet up at La Bamba, which is up by the horror makeup show. And we would find out who our tour guide was and stuff like that. So we went up there, and you got free drink, non-alcoholic drink, and free, like it was sort of nibbles, like corn on the cob, nachos, little sort of pastries and things like that. They were all complimentary, except there was a cash bar. It was paid. For the amount of money that we paid, I would have hoped that you would get free booze if you wanted it, but no, it was a cash bar. But anyway, so from there we met our tour guide, whose name was Jordan. He was lovely, he was really nice, but the only thing was at the start of the night I actually did film a little bit of, like, you know, the kind of build up that they give you to go into the houses, because that is the cool part, really. And I've seen a number of other videos, you know, filming that little build up, and then he asked not to be filmed. So I got one, which was going into Ghostbusters, and then obviously I never filmed him after that. But apart from that, he was really nice. He seemed to really know his stuff. He was quite funny. We had 12 of us on our tour, and we started with Ghostbusters. Now, Ghostbusters was, in my eyes, it was pretty good. My other half didn't like it too much. He's a massive Ghostbusters fan, but it wasn't really, what's the word? It wasn't really scary. There isn't really that many scares. It was cool to look at, but there wasn't really any sort of scares as such, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not a scary film, so I don't know. I was kind of a wee bit on the fence about that. Then we went straight into Stranger Things, and Stranger Things was amazing, like absolutely amazing. It was just, it looked stunning. I got a good few scares in it. It was just visually, it was absolutely beautiful, and it captured the series beautifully. The next one that we ended up going to was Universal's Monsters. So this one is obviously the original monsters that sort of, like, you know, kept Universal going, and where it all kind of started. So this was my favourite house of the entire event. I absolutely loved this house. It had all the scares, they were everywhere, and it was so cool to look at. Like, they did it so well. This by far is my absolute favourite house. You had things like Wolfman, you had Dracula, you had Frankenstein's monster. You had everything in there, and it was just amazing. It was so cool to look at. The next one that we went into was Graveyard Games, and Graveyard Games wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't bad. It was pretty cool with like the theming and stuff like that being in the graveyard. That was really cool. Then we ended up having a little break. So we went back to La Bamba, and then but on the way he showed us where we would be able to stand to watch what was it called again? Where we would watch Halloween Marathon of Mayhem. I didn't get to see this properly because, to be fair, the seating that you get with the RIP tour is shite. It's pants. It really isn't good at all. You're on the grassy bit, and if people line up at the fence in front of you, you just can't see, especially if you're my height. So I would have preferred if the preferred seating for Marathon of Mayhem was literally at the front, just standing at the front at the railing, down the bottom, where there isn't heads in front of you, where you can all be guaranteed to see, because on this night was the cheapest of all the nights available, and it was still ridiculously expensive. So I would think that when you're paying that amount of money, you should really be getting like the best of the experience. The next houses that we went to do was Depths of Fear and House of a Thousand Corpses, and they were good. I mean, there was nothing sort of kind of mad scary about it, but they were really nicely themed and stuff like that. I like the stories behind them and stuff like that. I mean, they're always really well themed anyway, but these two were like kind of no exception. So moving on, we then went down and did Yeti and Us. So Yeti Terror of the Yukon and Us. The Yeti one, the theming in it was awesome. The Yetis were so cool. They were really big. Oh, wait a minute. Alright, okay, I've missed one. So after Depths of Fear, we actually did Nightingale's Blood Pit. And that one was very on par with Depths of Fear. It was kind of like gladiators and stuff like that. And basically, I mean, there was a lion in it at one point. It was pretty cool. No, it was really good, and there was a lot of scares because in the Nightingale's Blood Pit, they seemed to do like 2 or 3 scares in one bit. It was really quite cool. You would walk through and there would be one person and another person, and maybe somebody would pop out from your right hand side. So there was a lot of scares in Nightingale's Blood Pit. Not as much as in Universal Monsters, but quite a lot. So the next one that we went in was Us, and then we went on to Yeti Terror of the Yukon. Us was really good. It followed on from the film really nicely. The bit at the end where it's all kind of like mannequins and people, and you don't know which is which, and the people jump out at you, that's really scary. It's not mad scary, it's not the scariest one there, but it's really well themed, and it follows the film really well. Yeti, like I say, wasn't that scary, but it was themed really well. It was really cold in there. You're supposed to be in the Yukon, and it's supposed to be all snowy and that, so they did a really good job of freezing you just so that you felt like you were actually there. Then the last thing of the night was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That is probably the coolest house that I've ever been through. It smelled like candy floss, and the clowns were hilarious, and they scared me. They actually, like, it didn't actually scare me at first, but the jump scares that these clowns were managing to get on me were just unbelievable. So it was probably my second favourite house of the whole entire night, followed by Stranger Things. So that's my top 3. So first would be Universal Monsters, second would be Killer Clowns, and third would be Stranger Things. They're all worth seeing. I don't think there's a dud house at all. There isn't one that like I would be like, absolutely not, I wouldn't go into that again. The scare zones were An Arcade, Zombieland Double Tap, Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe, Vikings Undead, and Vanity Ball. They're all pretty good this year. I wouldn't say there's anything massively spectacular in them this year, but they're all pretty decent to walk through. The Rob Zombie Hellbilly Deluxe, I think it is, when you walk through that, there's a load of photo ops. So yeah, that is pretty much the roundup of the RIP tour. It was a little bit expensive for what it was, I would say. You're not getting it as exclusive, because every corner you turn around, there's somebody with one of those light sticks. I don't know how many tours went out in that one night, but if you add it up, it's just absolutely mind-blowing how much it would have cost for everybody to go on that, and how many people were actually on the tours. And it kind of goes to show, like, when you're in a queue as well, you're getting held up constantly because these tours are going through and cutting in front. So if you're in the regular queue waiting for us lot to cut in, and then waiting for the fast passes to cut in, no wonder the queues take so long. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth doing if you've got the money for it, but I wouldn't go out of your way to do it just unless you've got one night. It's a good way to be able to get round all of the houses, and you know you're guaranteed to get round the houses. The only thing I would say though is if you can't walk a lot, then I wouldn't do it. If you tire easily, your feet get sore easily, you're walking literally solid for 4 hours. So if you can't walk solid for 4 hours, then I wouldn't do it. It is knackering. But I would, like I say, I wouldn't go out of my way to save up if I didn't absolutely need to do it, because yeah, it's not as mad exclusive as they make out to be. But yeah, that is my roundup on Halloween Horror Nights so far. We've only been there for one night, so we will see how it goes.